Oh.
Well, hello there, students. I'm so glad that you could join me for my fourth video. Today's lesson is Unit 4, Lesson 5. And our objective today is that students will be able to factor trinomials of type ax squared plus bx plus c. There's one difference though. I don't know if you see it. Where a is greater than 1. Last time we learned how to factor when a equals 1. And it's going to be a little more complicated, a little more involved when this first coefficient is greater than 1. So let's dive right in. Okay, so right here I have a little rectangle drawn for you. And I'm hoping that you kind of remember what some of these rectangles represented. If you remember that this side right here is a length of x, and this side is a length of x. So the total area of this red rectangle would be x times x, which is x squared. And here I have 2 of these x squareds. All right? And then if you remember correctly on these blue rectangles, the length is a length of x, and the width is a length of 1. So the total area is 1 times x, or just 1x. Now these are all going to be 1x's. Okay, and the green squares have a length of 1 and a width of 1. And so the total area of these small rectangles, actually they're squares, is 1. They have an area of 1. Okay? So if we take this whole rectangle in consideration, what is the area? Well, the area, so I have 2x squares, don't I? So let's go ahead and write that right here. I have 2x squareds. And how many x's do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 x's. And I have 1, 2, 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So there's my area of my entire rectangle. Now the question is, what is the factored form of this trinomial? And we can see this visually by just thinking about, well, if this is the area, the factored form would just be the length times the width. All right? So what is the length and what is the width of this rectangle? Well, let's find out. All right? So this length right here is a length of, do you know it? That's a length of x. And this is also a length of x. So here I have x plus x. And what is x plus x? Well, it's 2x. All right, so I have 2x, but then I have this length right here. That length is 1. So I have 2x plus 1 is my length of this entire rectangle. All right, so let's take a look at the width. Okay, what is the width of this red square? It's going to be x, right? And what is the width of these blue rectangles? Well, that's a width of 1, and that's a width of 1. So I have 1 plus 1, so that would be 2. So I have my length and my width. If I multiply them together, I get my total area. This here is my area. So let's see if that works. Okay, so 2x plus 1 was my length. And I'm going to multiply that by my width, which was x plus 2. Let's see if this is correct. Okay, So again, we distribute. Remember that? Distribute. So I get 2x times x, which is 2x squared, and 2x times 2, which is, well, 2 times 2 is 4, so I get 4x. All right, so now I need to distribute this 1. All right, so 1 times x is going to give me 1x, and 1 times 2 will give me 2. And here, these two center terms are going to be like terms. So 4x plus 1x is 5x. And I bring everything else down. I bring the plus 2 down, and I bring the 2x squared down. And so I end up with this as my area. Is it the same as what I originally put? Yes. I have 2x squareds, I have 5 x's, and I have 2 1s. All right? So this whole idea of area helps us to visualize what's going on with these trinomials. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we are going to, I'm going to show you a way of factoring this trinomial without the use of this graphic. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and erase just this part. All right? And we should end up with 2x plus 1 and x plus 2. All right. So here's my process. So the first thing I need to do is make sure it's in standard form. Is it in descending order? Well, I got a 2 here, I got a 1 here, and there's my constant at the end. Yes, this is in standard form. Perfect. Second thing is, can I factor out a greatest common factor? Well, let's see. 2 and 2 have a common factor, right, of 2, but 2 does not divide into 5 evenly, so we don't have a greatest common factor with my coefficients. And here I have an x squared and here I have an x. They have something in common, but this guy does not have an x. So this trinomial does not have any greatest common factors. Great. So we can move straight into step 3, which was my AC method. All right? So let's go ahead and draw my x. And if you remember, AC goes here and B goes in this box. So remember, you have to know your ABCs. So A, B, C. So A equals, in this case, it's greater than 1, right? So A is 2, B is 5, and C is 2. Perfect. Okay, I know my ABCs. All right, so now what I do is I need to put those in these boxes here. So A times C, so 2 times 2 will be 4, and B is just 5. Okay, so now if you remember, I need to find 2 numbers that will multiply to give me 4 and add or subtract to give me 5. What are my possibilities for multiplying to get 4? Well, I can do 4 times 1, or I can do 2 times 2. Those are my possibilities. But only one of these possibilities will add to give me 5. 2 times 2 is 4, but 2 plus 2 is also 4. Doesn't work. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. That works. So, those are my 2 magic numbers. And in the last video, we saw that we just simply use a 4 and the 1 as our 2 numbers that we use in our factored form, and we were done with it. Okay? The problem is when A is greater than 1, we have another step to do. Okay? And here's the step right here. We need to make a box. I call this the X box method because we start with the X and then we finish with the box. All right? So let's draw a box. And this is really just going to be capturing our area method idea. All right, so I'm going to make a box. And that box is going to be divided into 4 parts. Okay? In this upper left-hand corner is going to go my very first term. Well, what's my first term up here? What's ax squared? Well, it's 2x squared. So I'm going to put in 2x squared into that box. Okay? In this lower box, lower right-hand box, is going to go, I'm going to put my c there. All right? So what's my c in this trinomial? It's 2. So I'm going to simply put 2 in that box. Now I have one more term, don't I? I've already taken care of my first term and taken care of my last term. But I still have this middle term, which is 5x. But I only have one term left, but I have 2 boxes. How do I do this? Well, there's a lot of different ways I could get 5x, right? I could say 5x plus 0. I could say 4x plus 1x. I could say 3x plus 2x, right? So how we're gonna do this is I know that my two magic numbers are 4 and 1. Well, 4 plus 1 is 5. So what I'm going to do is instead of just putting 5x, I'm going to divide that 5x into 2 parts. Okay? And I'm going to put, well, let's see here. bx is going to go here, and bx is going to go here. I'm going to divide my 2 b's into 2 parts. All right? So I'm going to have 4x and 1x. You see how 4x plus 1x is 5x? So everything inside of this box is accounted for in my original trinomial. You see that? I have 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. So everything in my box is going to be my area of my box. Now I just need to find the length and the width of my box. And how do I do that? Well, here's how it works. I'm going to find my greatest common factor of each row and of each column. All right? So let's start with this top row. I have 2x squared plus 4x. Well, what's the greatest common factor between 2 and 4? That's going to be 2, right? And what's my greatest common factor between x squared and x? Well, they both have an x. Right? So there it goes. So I have a 2x there. Okay, how about 1x and 2? What's my greatest common factor? Well, they both share a 1 in common, don't they? Do they share anything else in common? They don't share an x, do they? So I can't put an x here. So it's just a 1. Okay? Now let's go ahead and find the greatest common factor of my columns. Okay, I have 4x and I have 2. What do they share in common? What's their greatest common factor? Well, 2. There's 1 2 here and there's 2 2's there. So this has a 2 in common. And they do not share an x in common, so I don't put an x there. Okay, and I go to my first column over here. What's the GCF? Well, 2 and 1, they both have a 1 in common, so I'll put that 1 right there. And this is an x squared and this is an x. The greatest common factor, they both share an x, only one x. So there you have it. And by the way, I could erase this 1 if I wanted. Okay, so there's my length and there's my width. So I could write my length and my width as this. 2x plus 1, 2x plus 1, times, there's my length and my width, 1x plus 2, or just x plus 2. And there is my factored form. Now, here's the million-dollar question. Is it correct? Let's go back to our little graph, or our little rectangle here. 2x plus 1. 2x plus 1. X plus 2. X plus 2. It worked. Okay? So when a is greater than 1, you must use the area method down here. Okay? When a equals 1, you don't need to do this area. You could, but you don't need to. You can simply stop with the x method. The AC method is what it's called. Okay? So that's it. All the, the numbers are going to change. Just remember, make sure it's in standard form. They might mix this up. Just put it in the right order. There might be a greatest common factor in there that you have to factor out. Just look for things like that. Everything else is the same. The numbers just change. All right, I hope this was helpful for you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and you'll get notified when I make further videos. And hey, good luck and enjoy. And may God bless you.